Welcome, fellow patriots, to PatriotNews.tv, the voice of truth. I'm Baron K. Brandstrom, your host, and I welcome you to this episode. I want to give a shout out here at PatriotNews.tv to General Michael Flynn, who's a great American patriot. General Michael Flynn says that Americans don't demand perfection, they demand truth. And we want to thank you, General Flynn, for being a great American patriot. Right now we know there's some fundamental changes going on in America. There's actually censoring going on. And it's really coming to what we thought it wouldn't come to for a long time. But it's here. And it's time for patriots to speak their mind. If you have a voice, you need to use it. You can't have the president being the only one talking. So if you don't want things to change fundamentally, if you're for the Constitution, you need to get your voice going. You need to talk to everybody you know. You need to stand up for the Constitution. So here at PatriotNews.tv, we challenge you, every American patriot, to learn the Constitution, to know your rights like the back of your hand, because it's cut and dry. You have the right to freely assemble. You have the right to freedom of religion. You have the right to bear arms. You have a lot of rights that you don't know about. We have the right to free speech, yet they're trying to clamp it down. So we need to learn our rights. Every single one of you, I challenge you to learn your rights, learn the Constitution, and learn what you have to do. Here at PatriotNews.tv, we believe in the rule of law, the right to life, the Constitution, and the right to life, liberty, and pursuit of happiness. So let's now get to the news. A federal judge finally dismissed the case against General Michael Flynn following a pardon. So we know that he was supposed to be having the case dismissed, but the judge said, I won't do it. I have power and I'm going to do whatever I want to do. So the president finally said, okay, then I have power and I'm going to do what I have to do. So to you, a great American patriot, General Flynn, congratulations for getting that pardon from the president. Now get busy. Thank you for your good American service. Once again, we want to talk about a brief story that with our election system under assault, Americans need to speak up. The problem is most Republicans in Congress and Senate are not speaking up. They're being quiet. They think that by being quiet, they can maybe ride out the storm. But the storm, nobody rides it out. You're either in or out. Pick a side and get behind it and let your voice be heard. That's what we're doing here at PatriotNews.tv. We're letting our voice be heard. Okay, we have a great story here from Canada. Canada gets it right. A judge says that the pandemic shutdown is unfair to small business. Wow. Hey, thank you, Judge, for saying what's right. We know it here in America that the pandemic shutdown is extremely unfair to small businesses. In fact, we understand from true stories that up to 30% of the businesses in New York and New Jersey have failed or are failing because of the shutdowns from the pandemic. And we know that millions of small businesses in America are shutting down, have shut down, and people are in financial hardship because of this pandemic. So thank you, Canadian judge, for getting it right. Appreciate you Canadians for your support. Okay, here we have a story on Trump signs an executive order giving Americans priority access to COVID-19 vaccines. So our tax dollars went to heavily fund all this research, and they were researching it at warp speed. So they found the virus, they investigated the virus, and the president and his task force were working diligently behind the scenes to fund it. We know that money can solve a lot of issues, and they were working diligently behind the scenes to get a vaccine. Now that we read and learned in our last episode that the vaccines were proven to be highly effective and have hardly any negligible side effects, the ones that they talked about in our last episode, we know it's time that if Americans want to have it, we need to make sure that American patriots have priority access to those vaccines. So thank you, Mr. President, for putting America first once again. Next. Okay, look at this story. The U.S. economic outlook brightens on vaccine news and stimulus talks. Very exciting. So the economy is on its way back up, and we look forward to when we finally get these election results that show President Donald J. Trump as the victor, that the economy is going to take off like a rocket ship. And to those of you patriots who have been having it hard, thank you for staying in there, staying strong, and staying diligent. We're on our way to recovery. Okay, next story. This is the big one. So the Texas Supreme Court case highlights non-legislative election rule changes in battleground states. So what's happened is the Attorney General in Texas has filed a case before the Supreme Court stating that many states, which we know, and some of those states are Georgia, Michigan, Wisconsin, and Pennsylvania, have violated the constitutional rights of Americans and the Constitution by these other Secretary of States and elected officials that have made changes that are unconstitutional by their own state constitution, thereby usurping the authority of the Constitution, and that is unconstitutional. It's unconscionable, but somehow they thought they could do it. And so this case that's going before the Supreme Court, that's filed by the Texas Attorney General Ken Paxton, is going to highlight these things. It took time to get there, but we need to get there before the Supreme Court and get that straightened out. So what's going on is in Georgia, the Secretary of State unilaterally and without legislative approval repealed and did away with or nullified Georgia's statute requiring signature verification for requesting an absentee ballot. So they just sent out absentee ballots against the Constitution, against the rule of law to everybody, and then they took them back and they didn't do signature verification as is required by their Constitution. Unconstitutional. Michigan, again, absentee ballots were sent out without requests form and without signatures. The Michigan Constitution requires a signature from everybody requesting a ballot, and then it has to be verified that the signatures match when they get the ballot back. Wisconsin election laws were modified that weakened or removed safeguards to ensure ballot integrity. So looks like there was a concerted effort by different people that are elected officials that don't have the authority to change the rules that would remove safeguards. And we know what happens when you remove safeguards. Things get dangerous. And so we've had some dangerous things going on. Dangerous for the Constitution, dangerous for the American Republic. And we need to stand up for that. So basically what's going on is many of these states, their elected officials made up their own rules, then put those in place to make the elections not as safe, not as protected. So that way a lot of ballots came in that may be illegal or objectionable or that are by people that aren't from that state or are already dead, voted 2 or 3 times, or just people that requested ballots for other people's names, got them, voted for them, but the signatures don't match. So that's a big one. That's going to the Supreme Court. We read right here in our next story, the Supreme Court sets Thursday deadline for briefs in the election lawsuit filed by Texas. The framers of the Constitution, they really did a good job at writing that Constitution, so it's pretty much cut and dry. The rule of law, it's either lawful, constitutional, or it's not. So that's Thursday. We've got a lot of other states that are backing that Supreme Court suit, and the states are Arkansas, Alabama, and Louisiana. So they've said, hey, we agree with you. We are the attorneys generals, and we are going to back that, and we're going to file briefs on your behalf. I also read in a news story just recently that came out hot off the press that the president said the White House is going to, White House counsel and his people are going to join that so that we can have a lot of briefs so that the justices can have as much information as they need And they all already know what's constitutional and what's not. They're the best. They're the supreme justice. We've got the races in California that are still leaning Republican, that there's a lot of dispute going on. So we have, just so you know, a lot of election results are still waiting to come in. No election is decided yet. There is no president-elect that's legally declared at this time. Anybody that is declaring that anybody is the president-elect is unlawfully declaring it, and they do not have the authority because there is court challenges going on. And so we got to stick with the rule of law. Here's a case in Georgia. Again, we're back to Georgia. The Republican National Committee is filing a lawsuit in advance just to make sure that they can have proper access to poll watchers during this next Senate runoff election. Critical. All we want to do is have free and fair and honest elections. That's what we're fighting for. And if we don't fix it now, America could be gone as we know it. They're working hard to take over. And who are they? They're the people that are adverse to the Constitution and that want to make their own rules. And that can't happen. America is founded on the rule of law, and we're going to keep it like that. Okay. Again, here's a story on troubling foreign ties behind the voting machines used in the United States. We have had some of these stories in the past on PatriotNews.tv, but this is particularly another story. As it unfolds, we're finding more and more foreign ties behind it. People that are invested, ownership, wrote the software, or were actually linked in during the election process. So these voting machines were completely uncontrolled, and they're not something we should be using in the United States elections. Okay? Okay, excellent. Here's a final story to end on. The Inauguration Committee, which is comprised up of 3 Democrats, 3 Republicans, they failed to pass a resolution acknowledging Biden as the president-elect. So they are the Inauguration Committee. If they will not declare anybody president-elect, then certainly the news media has no authority or power to do it also. We don't have the authority and the power here at PatriotNews.tv to make up news, to create news stories, and to push out any narratives just because we believe them. PatriotNews.tv, we're for the Constitution of the United States of America. We love America, we're patriots, and we thank you for joining us, for being great patriots. We say God bless you, and God bless the United States of America.